What has happened at the right back position for the Mexican national team needs to be studied because the amount of rotation, the way that the depth chart seems to change every 3 months, the way that fan opinion sways left and right, my own included, I thought warranted a video. So what I'm going to do for y'all today is look at how the right back position has changed over the past 3 years. We're going to start in 2022, then 23, then the current season today. And we're going to look at how the depth chart and fan opinion has changed during that time and why. Before we do though, guys, as always, if you like videos about the Mexican national team in English, make sure you hit subscribe, drop a like on the video if you could, and let me know down below in the comments, as of today, as of recording, August 2024, who's your number one right back for the Mexican national team. Let's start in 2022 at the top of the depth chart, Jorge Sanchez. This is a Tata Martino year. Jorge Sanchez was pretty much exclusively his first choice right back, unless he was unavailable. Individually, Sanchez was good, but not that good for America. In fact, I think he's one of the most confusing players in Club America history, because I feel like so many of even the Águilas fans thought that he was ass cheeks, but then they would kind of simp for him when he played for the national team. It was a very confusing situation. I remember seeing Jorge Sanchez live in 2022, and he was trash. Yet, much like what y'all keep doing with these girls out here, the red flags were ignored, and he eventually had a transfer move to Ajax, which I still think goes down as one of the most random and probably undeserved moves in the history of Mexican players going abroad. Like, you know, present day, they're in the Ajax board and they're like, remember when we thought Jorge Sanchez was a good buy? Honestly, stunning. So he starts the Apertura with America, does okay, gets a bunch of hype and hate at the same time, moves abroad, kind of does so-so, but it doesn't matter. He's a starter from Mexico. Second in the depth chart in 2022 was Chaca Rodriguez. Holy hell. This was kind of near the end of Chaca Rodriguez's national team career. He played a lot more in 2020, 2021. And like I said, he was kind of the fill-in guy, the main fill-in guy for Tata Martino when Jorge Sanchez went down. And third in the depth chart was a newcomer that many of us, myself included, were extremely excited about, named Kevin Alvarez. He was the new pretty boy from Pachuca who won the Clausura in 2022 as part of a very strong Pachuca team. A Pachuca team which has since not materialized in too much further excitement. At least not the 2002 iteration of the team. Now, Almada, he's a stud, but that's a topic for a different video. And Kevin Alvarez impressed a lot. Not just many Mexico fans, but Tata Martino as well, to the point where my man actually got a start at the 2002 World Cup against Argentina. And I knew my boy did well when I had non-Mexican friends reaching out to me like, yo, who is Kevin Alvarez? This kid looks really good. Yet, despite a pretty strong performance against the eventual world champions, he barely played against Saudi Arabia in the next game and we were eliminated. For those wondering, Jorge Sanchez was the starter against both Poland and Saudi Arabia at the Mundial. But at the closing of 2022, you could probably have made the argument that of all the right backs in the pool, Kevin Alvarez had the biggest stock increase. He was getting the most hype. He was kind of becoming the beacon of hope for most fans, and it looked like he was going to take the spot from Jorge Sanchez. Real quickly though, outside of that, Julian Araujo, another young Mexican player who was generating excitement, but not quite as much. I don't think the hype was the same because, number one, he was playing for the LA Galaxy in MLS, so I just don't think the visibility was there. And two, his opportunities with the Selección were not the same that Kevin Alvarez got. Like, my brother Araujo breaks in at the very end of 2022, plays a couple minutes against Suriname, and that's kind of it. But I would say he was a moderate winner in 2022 because he at least started breaking into the senior side. So at the end of 2022, the depth chart is looking like Jorge Sanchez on top. It's his position to lose. At the beginning of the year, it's Chaca Rodriguez. But as time goes on, as Pachuca perform better, Kevin Alvarez kind of leapfrogs him from third to second in the depth chart. And then at fourth, if you want to put Julian Araujo there, I think that's fair. Now let's fast forward to 2023. 2023, I would say that Jorge Sanchez was still considered the number one starter for Mexico. Sanchez keeps his spot despite being loaned to Porto. Ajax have had enough. They've benched him for a 19-year-old Dutch kid, so they've sent him to Porto on loan. After about 5 games at Porto where the manager's trying to figure out, like, is this guy good enough? He gets benched there as well. He does play some minutes throughout the the rest of the season kind of picks up near the tail end. But even Porto said, bro, you ain't good enough. Yet, despite that, he is still the lockdown starter for Mexico for reasons unknown. Somebody help me out in the comments. Second in the depth chart in 2023 is now Kevin Alvarez Bonafide. Now, 2023 was not a very good season for Mr. Alvarez. There was a lot of hype again after the Pachuca Clausura win. And I remember, and you probably remember too, there were a lot of clubs that wanted Kevin Alvarez. But what ends up happening? He transfers to America for a $12 million fee. A move that, of course, America fans were super hype about, and rightfully so. Kevin Alvarez was the best right back in Liga MX at the time, and he's a star for the Mexican national team, and he's attractive. Like, that's why the man is going for 12 mil. But as soon as we all saw that transfer and we saw how much it was worth, everybody understood why Kevin Alvarez never made it to Europe. Now, moving to America on its own is not necessarily bad for a player. Like, potentially Kevin Alvarez could have leapfrogged Jorge Sanchez and taken the number 1 spot. In fact, comment down below if that's what you thought was going to happen. Instead, it seems like the America move actually kind of killed all of Kevin Alvarez's stock and hype. He plays in the Apertura for America, and he does okay. It's not that bad of a season, but it's not a $12 million right back signing type of season. You know what I mean? I feel like the move to America and the money kind of set him up to fail a little bit because it's this different type of pressure that he had never felt before. Also, at America, you're just in the limelight more. You don't have as much time to acclimate or the fans are going to turn on you. So I think overall, the Apertura, the first part of 2023, was disappointing for Kevin Alvarez, but he eventually gets benched for Miguel Layún in the Liguilla. Then the Clausura happens. Kevin Alvarez is given the starting spot again, and then because of a combination of injuries and still not playing that well, he loses his spot yet again. So 2023, not a good year for Kevin Alvarez. His stock is going way down. All right, so I realized in post, I think I downplayed the impact of Kevin Alvarez's constant groin injury that apparently takes my man out every other day. He did eventually get surgery for that groin injury, but he still hasn't been able to get that consistent run of games ever since for America. My man is down bad. I also think he was watching too much Dead Ball TV, got inspired, and decided to launch his own podcast, which was probably not a good career decision. Godspeed to the man. Hope he can finally get healthy. Third on the depth chart is a Mexican making serious moves, and that's Julian Araujo. Araujo joins FC Barcelona from LA Galaxy in a completely shock move to me personally. Gets loaned to Las Palmas immediately because, of course, Araujo's not good enough for Barcelona, and actually does quite well. In fact, you could say he was one of Las Palmas' better players until he gets injured, and then he never really gets his spot back. For the Mexican national team, Araujo starts getting more regular minutes. He's appearing more in friendlies. He even gets some game time at the Nations League. However, in a move that I don't think any of us understand to this day, at the 2023 Gold Cup, both Julian Araujo and Gerardo Arteaga barely play. I think we can all agree that the Gold Cup, a Gold Cup without the Canadian and US A teams, would have been the perfect opportunity to usher in the new era of Mexican players that we've been hearing about for 5 years. But instead, we start Jesus Gallardo in every single game. I think we started Jorge Sanchez in every single game too, except for Qatar. The Qatar game in which we lost, and Araujo and Arteaga were terrible. I'm not crucifying them for it. I'm just stating the fact they were bad. So Araujo finally gets kind of a super legit opportunity at a confederational tournament at the Gold Cup, and in his one start, stinks it up, and Mexico lose to the Qatari B team 1-0. So I think 2023 overall was a complete disaster for the Mexican national team at the right back position. If you look at 2022, it's kind of like the year of hope, right? You have Kevin Alvarez on the ascension. You have Jorge Sanchez somehow making it to Europe. You have Julian Araujo, who's playing very well for the LA Galaxy. We're looking at the position and we're like, yo, we're stacked. Then comes 2023 and we're like, yo, we have no options. Everybody's finished. How does this keep happening? Why is everybody so bad? I feel like Araujo was the only player in the pool who actually had somewhat of a stock increase this year. Let's fast forward to today, August 2024. What the hell is the depth chart? If you ask me right now what the depth chart is, I would probably say Julian Araujo is number 1, which is kind of crazy because he was injured pretty much the entire year and didn't play at the Copa America. I think Araujo would be considered number 1 right now for a couple reasons. Number 1, he started the Nations League semifinal against Panama. Say what you will about CONCACAF competition, but that's a big deal for him to get the nod in that game. He eventually gets injured, and then we have no idea what would have happened after that, but still, that to me meant something. And also, because my guy is the only right back in the Mexican pool who had an upgrade at the club position. Yes, I do think Bournemouth is an upgrade over Las Palmas, at least in terms of being selected for the national team. If he gets even 30 minutes a game at Bournemouth in the Prem, you would have to be diabolically terrible at your job to not select Julian Araujo, especially with Jorge Sanchez going back to Cruz Azul. At second, I would say it is Jorge Sanchez because Jorge Sanchez is just like protected to a degree that deeply disturbs me. And again, in my opinion, I think most fans, myself included, for a very long time, I'd like to say, are kind of done with the Jorge Sanchez experiment. Like, he went to Europe, played 2 seasons, did not get better at anything. Offensively, the dude is deadwood. He's literally an athlete and nothing more. He's not even a lockdown defender. Like, this kind of BS myth that Jorge Sanchez is just clamping people is not true. He gets cooked every single time Mexico plays the United States. So I don't know who he's locking down. I mean, maybe it's against Guatemala or something. Congratulations. But forgive me if my aspirations for Mexico are a little bit higher than Nicaragua and the rest of the CONCACAF minnows. Now, could Aguirre look at Sanchez and be like, he's not god-awful, so I'm going to stick with him? Maybe, but I really hope not. I hope that Aguirre has some balls and says, no, I'm going with Julian Araujo or my number 3 at the depth chart right now. And this guy could quickly become even number 1, and that's Rodrigo Huescas. Very quickly, a lot of people want Huescas maybe played as a right mid or right winger. I don't think that's a bad idea per se. I just think we need better help at the right back position than the right wing position. Huescas completed his extremely exciting move to FC Copenhagen after absolutely balling out at Cruz Azul for the past couple years. Still no minutes for the Mexican national team, but he is now the one to watch. He is kind of the new Kevin Alvarez, only he did what Alvarez didn't do, and that's make it abroad. And I know we don't have a massive sample size. I think he's played 5 games so far, but the fans over there freaking love him. So I think the hype meter for Huescas is just skyrocketing right now. At 4th on the depth chart, but arguably 3rd, and I think maybe 3rd is actually better. Maybe Huescas is 4th. How could you say Huescas is 3rd if he hasn't played? Anyways, I freestyle these videos. Number 4 or 3rd, that man would be Israel Reyes. Now, Israel Reyes is technically a center back by trade, but he's been playing as a right back for America starting last season, and he's kind of been killing it. Now, offensively, Israel Reyes isn't great, right? Because he's kind of got the skill set of like a hybrid between a fullback and a center back, but I still think that he deserves mentioning in the top 3. Like, if you asked me right now for my depth chart, Jorge Sanchez would be 7th. Like, he wouldn't even be in the top 3, and Israel Reyes would occupy one of those spots. But personally, I refuse to believe that Israel Reyes brings less offensively than Jorge Sanchez, because I don't think it's possible to bring less offensively than Jorge Sanchez. If my memory is correct, Israel Reyes only has 1 game at right back for Mexico, and that was the friendly against Brazil where he played the full 90 minutes. And I thought my dude was pretty solid. So in conclusion, I really think Israel Reyes needs to be part of the right back discussion now when we're talking about Mexico. He's earned that. And lastly, at 5th in the depth chart, hanging by a goddamn thread, is Kevin Alvarez. And I'm not trying to be mean here, but if Kevin Alvarez does not have a good season for America or go somewhere else and play well for a different team, his national team career is done. And I can't believe I'm saying that because, again, in 2022, this guy looked like the long-term solution to the right back position. And now he's basically irrelevant. Not to mention, you got guys like Alan Mosso who are now chomping at the bit to get back into the Mexican national team. Brian Garcia is another guy, a bit older, but again, somebody who could get called up, you know, based on the provisionary roster that we saw for the Copa America. So it's kind of now or never for Kevin Alvarez, especially with the rise of Huescas, with Israel Reyes doing his thing, and Araujo going to the Premier League. Like, it might already be too late. Before I wrap up the video, I have to say this because it's just an insane stat. Jorge Sanchez for Mexico, 43 games, 38 starts, so almost every single game, 1 goal involvement. 1 goal involvement in 43 games. He scored against Canada in 2022. In 3,500 minutes, 1 goal involvement. This is what I'm saying, y'all. Do not ever try to tell me that Jorge Sanchez is a complete fullback. Don't ever try to tell me that he's a good fullback. And don't ever try to say that Israel Reyes couldn't give me more in 3,500 minutes than what Jorge Sanchez has given us. Like, that stat is just shocking. So in conclusion, nobody can lock down the starting right back position for Mexico. Depending on what day of the week it is either regarded as the deepest or weakest position in the selección. And while I think media and fans have a part to play in that, I think that they are culpable in creating this merry-go-round that we now see. It's also the players themselves. The players themselves and the coaches who have done a horrible job of incorporating these different players into the selección, testing them out, giving them real opportunities so that we can make more educated assessment of who's got it and who doesn't. Like, there have been so many wasted opportunities to play Araujo more, to play Kevin Alvarez, to give Huescas a shot, to see what Israel Reyes can do, and we just fumble it time and time again. And while that is true, we still have to blame the players for this. Can somebody with Mexican blood please give me 3 good seasons of football in a row? How come you guys can only be good for 6 months and then you fall off a cliff? And then you have to go through a redemption arc and then you fall off again. It is a roller coaster with every single right back, and I'm tired of it. So what Jack wants for Christmas for 2024 is for somebody to be the starter. I want a clear hierarchy, maybe 2 players, max 3, that we can depend on until the next World Cup and beyond. That's what I would like to see. But what would you guys like to see at the right back position for Mexico? Let me know down below in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this video, again, make sure you smash the like button, hit subscribe for more Mexican national team content, CONCACAF content, anything else that I feel like making here on the channel. You can also check out our social media links in the description of this video. Follow me on Twitter if you want to ask me some more specific footy questions. I appreciate you guys for watching.